Hey everybody, my name's Lynn Hayes. Welcome back to my channel. I really appreciate your joining me here. Every week we talk about the astrological influences for the coming week and how they're going to be affecting us. And this week I would like to start just by talking about Capricorn. And we don't have anything new in Capricorn. If you've been watching these videos or reading any other astrological material, you will know that there have been 3 planets in Capricorn throughout the year. So this has been a heavily Capricornian influenced time. We've had Jupiter in Capricorn, we've had Saturn in Capricorn, we've had Pluto in Capricorn since 2008. And the reason I want to talk about that today is I'm going to be talking about a much more buoyant, positive, dreamy, imaginative cycle. And before we get to that, I want to lay out the reality check. We're in a time right now where we're going to be facing some very difficult challenges. The economics of the COVID-19 situation do not look good. The US is heading into a Pluto return, where Pluto in the sky is returning to the place that it holds in the chart for the US, which is in the second house of money. So we've long been anticipating some sort of collapse. Maybe collapse is too extreme a word, but certainly a challenge. And some of us will be affected more than others. But it's very important, and it's not too late to start collecting your nuts for the winter, to save your money, to be smart, to be disciplined, to do good Capricornian things to build for the future. As we get further through the COVID-19 situation, I think we'll know more about how this is going to affect us. The danger to harmonious planetary cycles, such as what we have coming up with Jupiter and Neptune, which I'm about to talk about, is that it can cause us to feel more relaxed, more complacent, happier generally, which is a wonderful thing, but we can't really let our guard down. There are still many planets retrograde. The virus is still out there. We still have to be vigilant. So that's just sort of a little caveat before we get into the Jupiter-Neptune. So on July 27th, which is the day that this video is going to be uploaded, there is an exact alignment, a harmonious sextile, which is a 60-degree aspect between Jupiter and Neptune. Jupiter and Neptune are related. I've actually been talking about this aspect for the last couple of weeks, and this is phase 2 of a 3-phase cycle. This aspect has been with us since March, and it'll be with us until the middle of October, or the end of October. Jupiter and Neptune are related in some ways. Jupiter is a personal planet. It has to do with our search for meaning, our search for truth, what gives our life a sense of purpose. And Neptune is an outer planet. It inspires us to transcend our human life and connect with the divine, to have a divine experience of creativity, of imagination, of bliss, of compassion. So Jupiter and Neptune are very suited. They're well suited for each other. They operate very well as a team, and they're in a harmonious aspect with each other now. So we tend to see the best out of both planets. So this period, which will last for at least a week and maybe a week and a half, is going to give us kind of an infusion of creativity, an infusion of purpose and optimism. I want to read something to you that I have read from somebody called Ajahn Shanti. Spirituality is making conscious the domains of human experience that are generally unconscious. And I really love that for this Jupiter-Neptune sextile, because Jupiter brings the unconscious yearning for spirit into the conscious mind, where we can act on it, where we can make it a part of our lives. So this Jupiter and Neptune sextile can be very beautiful and harmonious, and it certainly is a wonderful aspect for anything creative, for relationships, for helping us to just generally feel more positive and more optimistic about life. So now let's drill down a little more into the details, into the weeds of what's happening this week. The first thing we have is a a square from Venus in the sign of Gemini to Neptune. That's going to be the strongest in the first couple of days of the week. Any aspect between Venus and Neptune, even a challenging or strong aspect, can be very harmonious. Venus and Neptune are also very well suited together. They're well suited to each other. Venus has to do with love and beauty. It has to do with our relationships. Venus is in Gemini now, where we like to have conversation. We want to be communicating. And the square to Neptune can help to enhance the imagination. It can help to make us more creative. But what it also can tend to do is create some confusion in our communication and in our relationships. So we might have a lot of misunderstandings just based on what we thought our partner or our friends or any kind of loved ones or business partner. Neptune sort of makes everything a little more mysterious, and it's easier under Neptune's influence to attach what we want to have happen to what's actually happening. So Venus aspects only last for a day or two, so that's going to come and go very quickly. Then we also have Mercury getting involved, and Mercury is the messenger god. You might remember from your mythology, and I love this example about Mercury. Mercury was the only one of the gods who could traverse all of the different planes of existence. Mercury could go to Mount Olympus, it could visit with humans, and it could also, or he, I should say, could also go into the underworld with Pluto and then come back out with Pluto's messages. And we're seeing a lot of that this week because Mercury is going to be interacting with Jupiter and Pluto and then Saturn, those three Capricorn planets. And Mercury is going to be in an opposition to those planets. So if you remember, the Capricorn planets are the planets that instill in us this need for discipline, to take the hard road, to take the more difficult steps in order to achieve a successful outcome. And what I'm imagining, because of what's happening in the world right now, we're all feeling very constricted. We're in lockdown. Many of us are stuck in our houses or certainly stuck in our communities. And that can feel very oppressive, which is sort of Capricornian. Capricorn is all about doing the hard things that we don't really want. So now we have Mercury, the planet of communication, the planet of short journeys, the planet that really likes change, that likes to move around to all of the different planes. Mercury is opposing those Capricorn planets. I think we're going to see a lot of resistance to the lockdowns. We're going to see a lot of actions that are probably going to necessitate more compression, more of a shutting down of the world in order to try to control the virus. And remember, all of this is happening in the midst of this lovely Jupiter-Neptune sextile that is just encouraging us to want to feel free and to want to be creative and imaginative. So there's a little bit of schizophrenic duality here with these different energies. And on top of that, Mercury starts the week in a challenging square to Mars in Aries. So while there's this compression and all of these other things going on, Mercury, the planet of communication and discussion and arguments, is facing off against Mars, the god of war. So here we have wars of words. Now, fortunately, Mercury really is only active for a couple of days, but that's going to lead into the other Capricorn situations. So the first couple of days of the week overall could be a little confusing, a little agitating, and this is a good time for me to put in a little ad for my Facebook page. If you're already on my Facebook page, then you know every morning I post something about the astrology of that day and how we can work with it. So if you're not already on my page, please visit me there. This all takes us into the full moon in Aquarius, which occurs on August 3rd. Now, even though the moon isn't full until August 3rd, the approach to the full moon starts to build those energies. And here we have the moon going into the sign of Aquarius, opposite the sign Leo. Every full moon includes a polarity between two signs that has to be integrated, that has to find balance. And here we have Aquarius, the detached, the scientist, the innovator, the one who follows their own drumbeat that doesn't follow along with anybody else's rules. Opposite Leo, the sign of the self, the sign that wants to express the self, and it's all about me, and don't you like what I'm doing? Aquarius is much more detached, has a much broader view. And so here we have these two facing off, but the moon is in Aquarius, the moon is full, and the moon is urging us to detach from the story, to see the bigger view, to have that broader perspective so that you can see things more accurately and less from the narrow perspective of the self that Leo offers. Neither is better, neither is worse. But with the full moon in Aquarius, the Aquarian side is highlighted now. And that's made even stronger because Uranus, which is the modern ruler of Aquarius, is locked in a challenging square to both the sun and moon, really setting off that full moon. So this is really a time when we're going to want to make big changes in our life. Uranus isn't about the little changes. Uranus isn't about, oh, yesterday I had cereal, today I think I'll have pancakes. Uranus is about, I feel very repressed, I feel very stifled, I'm in a rut, I really need to make a big change. So under this full moon in Aquarius with the square from Uranus, this is a time, if you're feeling this need to change your life, and I think to some extent we all are feeling this, we're all just shut in with ourselves, and the only thing that we can do is go deeper and really get to know ourselves in a more complete way. We're not distracted by the outer world. So if something doesn't feel right, it's really right in our face where we have to deal with it. This full moon, I believe, is going to bring all of this to the fore. It's going to bring this to our attention. It's going to put all of our little discontents and all our dissatisfactions right in front of us where we can no longer avoid them. And it's going to give us the key to getting out of this. It's going to give us the key to breaking out of the routine, to breaking out of the rut, to finding a new way. The moon is actually full on the day of our next video, so we'll probably come back to that. Maybe have a recap. If you want to put any of your experiences in the comment box, I would really appreciate that. And now let's go on to the lunar influences that are coming up for the month. So the moon is going to enter the sign of Scorpio just after midnight on July 27th. The moon will be in Scorpio for a couple of days. And while the moon's in Scorpio, we tend to feel, because remember the moon has to do with our emotions, our feelings, how we feel deep within. And when the moon is in Scorpio, we tend to feel much more intensely. We feel more passionately. We're not able to really let things slide. We want to fix things. We can see so into the depth, and we want to make it right. We want to find the truth behind everything in our life that's really not working the way that we want it to. We tend to approach our relationships with more intensity when the moon is in Scorpio. So the couple of days while the moon is in Scorpio are very good for confronting any difficult interpersonal things that you might have been avoiding. Under that Scorpio influence, all of our feelings are readily available for us to express. So that's a good thing to do when the moon's in Scorpio. Then on the 29th at around 3 a.m., the moon's going to move into Sagittarius. These times that I'm giving you are all Eastern times, so please adjust for your own locality. When the moon moves from Scorpio to Sagittarius, there's sort of a lift. Scorpio is a fantastic sign of power and depth, but let's face it, it's intense, and not everybody loves that feeling of intensity all the time. So when the moon moves into Sagittarius, it can feel much lighter. It can suddenly feel like, now I can relax. Now I can feel good about things. Now I can feel positive. So this period after from the 29th to the 30th, the 29th and the 30th, those are very good days to relax, to have a good time, to do something social, that's safe to see a friend outside with a mask. But anyway, you get the idea. It's a very good time to have expansive experiences that are going to make us feel good. And then just after midnight on July 31st, the moon then shifts into Capricorn. So we go from this expansive place of optimism to a more contracted, more focused, more stable, more disciplined approach to life for the next 2 days. When the moon is in Capricorn, it's a very good time to organize your life, very good time for house cleaning, very good time to start your new journal if you're somebody like me that likes to start a new calendar for the month, get organized. The moon in Capricorn is a very good time to do that. It's also a really good time if you're a business person. It's a very good time to make a business plan or to have a conference with your team or your colleagues when something needs to be planned. And that takes us to the moon in Aquarius. The moon is going to go into Aquarius on Monday, August 3rd at about 2 p.m., setting us up for the full moon in Aquarius. When the moon shifts into Aquarius, we suddenly can become very intuitive. We can become much more aware of information. We may find ourselves suddenly with insights that are flooding our brain. The time when the moon is in Aquarius, which will take us about to the 5th of August. These are very good times for visioning, for imagining, for creating, because Aquarius is all about innovation. It's all about change. So it's a very good time to start to think about ways to make changes, to make your life or your business or whatever it is that you're doing more innovative and more suitable for the current situation, for your current mood, for your own sense of personal authenticity. So I hope you all have a wonderful week, a wonderful full moon. If you have questions or anything that you'd like to let me know about, or ideas for other videos, or anything you have to say, please leave those in the comment box, and I will see you next week. Thanks so much.